They've been preparing for 4 or 5 months for war. We just rolled past Target. They got 2 tanks, and it was police pumping their guns at us. A black man get killed in the street. Y'all finna straight turn to a war against black people.
Evening. On August 9th, Michael Brown was shot and killed by police officer Darren Wilson. Within minutes, various accounts of the incident began appearing on social media, accounts filled with speculation and little, if any, solid, accurate information. Almost immediately, neighbors began gathering and anger began growing because of the various descriptions of what had happened and because of the underlying tension between the police department and a significant part of the neighborhood. The duty of the grand jury is to separate fact from fiction. After a full and impartial...
We were anxiously waiting to find out if we would have an indictment on Darren Wilson or an indictment on our democracy. Anticipating disappointment.
After their exhaustive review of the evidence, the grand jury deliberated over 2 days, making their final decision. They determined that no probable cause exists to file any charge against Officer Wilson and returned a no true bill on each of the 5 indictments.
I can't talk. I can't, man. You guys, help me out. Well, we love you, sir.
We just heard it. There's no indictment for Darren Wilson. What was once a calm situation is really lighting up.
Shut it down! Shut it down!
You are in the middle of a disability research.
I'm a black man in America. America always disappoints me.
Looking back at the night of the grand jury decision, one fact was clear. The protests and riots that followed were not just about Mike Brown. It was an outright rebellion against what the U.S. Department of Justice describes as a system that exacerbates existing racial bias, targeting blacks and sowing deep mistrust of the police and local courts.
Things heated up pretty quickly. A cop car was flipped over, several windows were smashed. Right now the police are giving dispersal order.
That's minor to a death, to us losing somebody 18 years old, them losing a police car, that's minor, man. They just need to feel our pain. This don't have nothing to do with right now. This is about years and years of this, man. That's all we want to say. Black community, rest in peace, Mike Brown.
They start murder and bloodshed.
We are staying on top of a developing story this morning. A local 18-year-old is shot and killed by police in Ferguson.
Everybody, live from Ferguson. They just killed this for no reason.
After a Ferguson police officer shot and killed a 17-year-old who witnesses say was not carrying a weapon.
What stood out to me was the fact that here was a public death, a death that was followed by a spectacle of sorts, by having a body lay in that street for 4.5 hours.
An hour later, my man's body is still laying in the middle of the street. Whoa, I don't understand.
Leaving them out here for hours. Come on, what is that?
Wow.
You know, that's creating more and more pain, man. There's no sensitivity at all.
In a neighborhood that looked quite similar to many neighborhoods I lived in, that is, densely populated neighborhood.
Wow. That's why you see all these people out here right now. Right. All these people. Because of what happened.
And it's because of a close proximity you have to other people's houses that you know people really well. So it was communal mourning.
Extra police were called in and the tactical unit was stationed on West Florissant.
They never apologized for sicking them dogs on us. What they've done is let us know that they don't care.
Look at this shit. Look at this. Bro ain't doing nothing. He was just right there. Just picture this. Picture this.
Mike Brown's death sparked widespread outrage, in part because the feeling of being a target is intimately familiar to most black youth here. 95% of jaywalking tickets in Ferguson were issued to blacks, according to the DOJ. The nightly protests in front of the Ferguson Police Department were as much a condemnation of the killing as they were an attempt to reclaim the streets from the police.
Whose streets? Our streets! Whose streets? Our streets!
The fear that's associated and connected to blackness and black people, that is, the way that we are seen through a white racial supremacist gaze, is also part of the problem. And it isn't only part of the problem in terms of the way that we are encountered and are responded to, but it's also impacts the laws that are created that makes it possible, and the systems that make it possible for cops who have done these killings to go with impunity.
Back up! Back up! Get back or you're going to jail!
Walking out the front door nowadays, you feel like because your skin is one color, you're already the bad guy. Not because of the stuff that'll label you that you're the black guy, you're the bad guy. The quickest ways in and out always gonna be the highway around here. We're surrounded by 4 different municipalities. You got Bell Ridge right here on Highway 70, which is less than a mile. You got St. Louis County and Berkeley. 1 mile that way, you got Bell-Nor and Normandy, and 1 mile this way, you got St. John's. That's Bell Ridge Police Department right there. They, they out. You just want to be able to not be so nervous, so much anxiety, being able to make it in, make it out. Just pay attention to your speed limit. Make sure you take it slow. Reach the highway. You reach the highway. This is just like you thankful every day all over again. Like, whew, hit the highway. Don't take the side streets, don't take the back streets.
They waiting on you.
Have your seatbelt bucking. Sit upright. Don't have a ball cap on.
Don't turn, especially backwards.
Don't have your music up. Nothing. No hoodies.
No expression of yourself.
I've been pulled over about 3 times a month for about the last year and a half, so it'll be anywhere from $250 to $600 for one ticket. Okay, you get the ticket on a Monday, the fine's due on a Friday. If you use a lawyer, you can't pay payments. You have to pay it all in full. If you can't pay it, you're not going to try to go in and pay a part because you know the result. You're going to be arrested. So out of the 10 tickets you got in the last 3 months, if you're on a fixed income, you might take care of 3. Now you have 7 warrants times at least $500. You owe St. Louis a lot of money.
Racism has shaped the urban geography of many American cities. St. Louis is both anomalous and exemplary of this phenomenon. After emancipation, formerly enslaved black Americans were confined to small patches of land in the core of St. Louis City. More and more black families moved into the city during the Great Migration, and racial zoning laws and later racial covenants ensured their continued segregation. In the 1950s, St. Louis became one of the first cities to experiment in high-rise public housing like Pruitt-Igoe. But decades of neglect and the widespread failure of low-income housing followed. Waves of recession and the flight of its manufacturing base further led to decline. St. Louis City imploded, losing much of its population to the suburbs.
The result today: a dense, over-concentrated central core. In a ring around this core, deterioration, overuse, blight. Surrounding this, the better residential area. And beyond this, the green suburbs.
White families fled in droves to North St. Louis County, where they formed subdivisions that quickly incorporated into small, whites-only municipalities.
One suburb, Blackjack, Missouri, has kept low-cost housing out.
Tiny Blackjack incorporated itself as a city last August and promptly passed a zoning law prohibiting the construction of new apartment buildings.
St. Louis City was powerless to stop the westward flight of whites to the county. And unlike every other major American city, St. Louis could not by law annex the rapidly urbanizing areas at its edges. And so over time, small, independent municipalities formed around the city. This fractured political system created 90 municipalities, more than 60 police forces, 81 municipal courts, and a justice system that inherited the structural racism of its past. Some municipalities, like Beverly Hills, are less than half a square mile in area. Others have populations less than 100 people.
There are places in St. Louis County where you can see 3 city halls from standing on a corner. Every block or 2 blocks, there's a new municipality, and that municipality has its own police force, and it has its own court.
If I make a right out of my neighborhood, I can drive through 8 different towns in a span of 3 miles.
One of the consequences of that is very easy to get tickets in multiple different places.
So if I'm driving an older car, I might get stopped by 8 different police departments. I could potentially be fined by 8 different communities. You're driving through the gauntlet.
One week after the unrest that followed the grand jury decision, the first public meeting was held in Ferguson to look at the persistent problem of racial profiling and the deadly use of police force. Called the Ferguson Commission, its 16 members were appointed by Missouri Governor Jay Nixon to examine police conduct and community relations. It was a belated attempt to address the concerns of citizens seeking police accountability. But today, the bureaucracy offered another injury: boredom.
My academic career has been focusing on urban research, urban development.
Most of you have heard the expression from Rodney King, can't we all just get along? I would simplify that and say, can't we all just talk?
One thing that I think is wrong that I just learned, I'm older than Chief Isom, but he's retired now and I'm still working. So
I never had the opportunity to do this in front of a microphone, so I'm going to say hi, Dad.
One thing I've asked myself, being an African American, living in St. Louis, and being a police officer, is why do some people love the police and why do some people hate the police? And that's always been a perplexing question to me.
The meeting went on for almost 5 hours before the public had a chance to speak.
Transparency be a guiding commitment for us.
This is a bunch of bullcrap, and it's always been a bunch of bullcrap.
Disrespecting us as people. We tired. Y'all killing our babies. The justice system is a mockery. We're giving us all these fancy words and all your degrees and all your intellectual words. Fix it. My 17-year-old son, who is a victim of all of the things that you all are discussing in this meeting, we've been sitting here since you guys started, and he's listening to everybody running through the podium explaining, I've done this, I've done that, and we are honored that you all have credentials and you're educated, but you do not reflect the community that we live in. You're a very educated man. I've watched you. You have a very good spirit, Mr. Iceland, and you said you're perplexed. You want to know why some people hate police officers and why some people like police officers. Well, I was born in the 60s. I'm a 60s baby. We were raised up that the police officer was Mr. Friendly. I taught that to my children. That's what I taught them. You respect authorities. You respect any adult, but especially the police officer, because it's your friend. We're going to work with him to lift the community up. But what am I supposed to tell my 16-year-old son? And my son is not a thug. His pants don't sag. So everybody will know that when he steps outside his door, the police got him and his friends lined up on the excuse my French, lined up on the ground. They got to take their socks and shoes off and undress for what? It is a shame that our babies, can y'all fathom that? Your baby getting gunned down, then disrespect to lay in the street for 4 hours.
I want to commend you of color who are here and are educated. You came from a family who cared. You took the responsibility to do it. That's one thing that isn't being said. It has to come from the home. It has to come from parents who care. Thank you.
Excuse me. I want to thank you for the sentiment of what you said. But I don't know any black parents who don't care. And so I wanted to say that every parent in here, I believe, is here because they love their babies just as much. And the equity piece we have to work on is that everybody really doesn't get the same opportunities in America. And so I ask that as we start this process, that we began by believing and trusting the best of one another. And that means starting by thinking that parents do care, no matter what the media says. Parents care, no matter what the media says. Thank you.
When Courtney supposed to be here 20 minutes ago? Kinda what time Courtney get here? Go get your boo. What's up, baby? I was just finna get worried about you, man. Why y'all bus was late? How many people? They switch y'all buses up? Y'all still 3 to a seat? Oh, okay. I broke home. I was in a fast food line, and I had 7 minutes to get home. And I didn't want to miss the verdict. And it's ironic because I just wanted to be here to see the reaction on my kid's face. I knew what the verdict was going to be. It's never happened before, and why should I expect it to happen now was my feeling on it. I didn't try to force it on my kids because I was hoping we lived in a time where we've transitioned enough to be out of what my parents told me they went through. But it just brought it to light that we ain't made it yet. We're not there. Hey, Kayla, y'all still doing Mike Brown homework? Yeah. You got some of yours graded? The first couple weeks of school, everything was about Mike Brown, because, you know, he went to Normandy. Of the percentage of teachers that you talk to about that, how many of them you think could relate? And as far as racial inequalities, as far as police inequalities, as far as toting the line between poverty and middle class?
About 10%.
10% actually go through it?
For example, one teacher said that she felt that Darren Wilson wasn't wrong, then she felt that he should have shot him.
And that's what she said?
Yeah.
Verbatim?
Yeah.
What was the first thing y'all said in regards to how she felt?
My exact words was, Man, did you hear what she just said? She must be crazy. That was my exact word. Like, when she said it, I couldn't believe it. Like, it also, like, make me feel like, make me want to stay more distant from those teachers. Because, like, we can't really relate, so how can you sit here and talk to me? Like, I don't understand.
When you cross certain lines, certain stuff really don't affect you. You can turn on the news and you see it, it does not affect you. You know, you can trend right to the next topic without it even touching you, whereas in my home or in my peers' home, you know, we turn on the news, the first 6 or 7 minutes, they're going to tell you whether or not you lost someone who you knew, who you loved, anybody, you know, and it's a reality. It's a real reality here.
Ferguson was historically a white enclave. For decades, zoning laws and racist housing covenants effectively kept black people out. As Supreme Court rulings found these practices illegal, majority white neighborhoods were forced to accept low-income Section 8 housing.
10, 15 years ago, you couldn't find a Section 8 home in Ferguson. Now, the apartments over there are Section 8 only. Well, if you can't afford to pay your rent, I would have to guarantee that you're barely driving. Meaning if you are driving, is something not legal about your car, whether it be insurance, plates not registered. So I know they knew that this would bring more police, more tickets, more fines, more everything. We'll just go over there and patrol that area. We are bound to find money somewhere. Pull them over because his pants is sagging. You know, they give $100 tickets for sagging in certain municipalities now.
Mike Brown's death is connected to this predatory money-making system of tickets and fines. Let's remember that Ferguson police officer Darren Wilson initially approached Michael Brown and his friend Dorian Johnson over walking in the street. Offenses like that and jaywalking are among the most common and lucrative ordinance violations in St. Louis County.
Y'all stand over with all that equipment. We ain't got shit but clothes to keep us warm and our voices and signs to show y'all that we ain't gonna stand down and let y'all just get away with this bull continue to do to us constantly, every day and all day. Writing bogus tickets, pulling us over, putting us in these municipalities, knowing we can't pay half the tickets that y'all give us, but yet still, you stand out here on the front line like you doing us a favor.
The result of this fractured municipal system is a dystopian police state, where outstanding warrants for nonviolent offenses can outnumber the population, and where the justice system operates at a profit.
In St. Louis County, there are 440,000 outstanding arrest warrants for minor offenses. That's 9 times more than Cook County in Illinois, Chicago.
In 2013, Ferguson issued 10,000 more arrest warrants than it had citizens. As is the case in Jennings, the poorest areas of St. Louis County are the focus of these aggressive warrants for ordinance violations.
I come from Illinois. I practiced in Illinois previously. I said, what is this? Which is what every lawyer from out of town comes. And they say, well, I don't know why this is illegal, but it's crazy. I mean, you know, what is this?
90% of the people in there was black tonight, 95%. And the courtroom was filled up 3 times tonight. They emptied it and filled right back up again.
Ain't much to say. You can look and see what it is. It's all black people in here. That's it. That's not the only people that tried.
As is often the case when you talk about race, the response is, no matter how it's framed, you're calling me a racist. If you just point out that you're in a room where every employee of the court is white and every defendant is black, the response is, you're calling me a racist. It's systemically intentional. I'm not saying that one municipal judge sat down and said, I need to save white supremacy. What would that look like? Okay, that's not what I'm saying. But the system is incredibly effective at what it does.
You create, like, I don't know if I can put it into words, it's like a feeling of insufficiency. You know, no matter what you do, you can't be in this area and walk free. You can't be in this area and not feel like, I better get on away from over here, or, you know, it's a 50-50 chance I'm gonna leave owing somebody some money.
Be here when I come out.
I gotta pay $327 with no income at this point because I'm trying to get my disability because I was hurt on the job.
By a certain date?
Yeah, by a certain date. By January the 13th, which ain't number like 4 weeks away. Where I'm gonna get that kind of money?
I got a ticket for failure to use a crosswalk.
We both got the same ticket. Failure to use a crosswalk and jaywalking.
And jaywalking. They
500
charge
each.
500.
Almost $1,000. Almost $1,000 for a year. That's crazy.
About $2,000. And that's just like different municipalities all around. Deadwood, Ferguson, Hazelwood, Pine Line, Delta City, St. Charles, Troy, Missouri. I just been like on the whole rodeo coast. Y'all need to go all through these little municipalities that live off the backs of poor black folks.
If we were just talking about one court that told you you could make $50 a month payments on a $2,000 fine, that's different than 10 or 15 telling you that, right? This quickly gets to a number that poor people can't afford.
Most of the homeless people that I work with at some point were making it, right? And then something happened, and the municipal court system is often the something that happened.
I had a warrant for littering in St. Louis City. The city came the same night that Pine Line got me trying to pick me up. They wouldn't let me go. Why? It's because Pine Line said I had to bond out for whatever Pine Line gave me a ticket for before I could even get released to city, where I originally got my real ticket for that's had me for the warrant.
Our clients call it doing the muni shuffle. They had warrants in more than one town, and their family or friends or whatever went and paid the bond in one town, which only earned them the right to get jailed in the next town.
It is preying on folks, shaking you down. They will arrest you on some minor traffic violation, then hold you. And if you have a warrant in another municipality, then you have to go through the round robin of going from one municipality to the other until that is satisfied. You gotta beg family and friends. That is a debtor's prison. And that's why we're out here, because that is not what we're doing here in America. Y'all ain't making no money today, is you?
Shame on you! Shame on you!
They held me for 10 days in a dog kennel. They held me for 10 days in a dog kennel and still making me pay a fine, no time served. Have anybody ever seen the inside of their holding cell?
In February of 2015, a class action lawsuit was filed against the municipalities of Ferguson and Jennings. In the lawsuit, plaintiffs describe being kept in overcrowded cells with walls smeared with mucus, blood, and feces. These plaintiffs are held for weeks with no change of clothes until their court dates, where they have to appear before a judge reeking in their own filth from time spent in jail. It's shocking humiliation, and yet the system continues to grind the poor through its revolving doors.
If you look in our newspapers over the last year, 3 people have hanged themselves in these jails. There are 3 people who killed themselves, and each one of them killed themselves while waiting to be moved from one jail to another. The only reason they were in this jail, the only reason we put a human being inside a cage is because they were too poor to make the bond.
So they make you choose whether I pay my light bill, feed my children, or not pay the court fine and have a warrant out and go to jail and lose your job and everything else that you're trying to do. Don't the police department work for us? They supposed to. It seems like they living off us.
It's often the second highest source of income in the town behind sales tax. Even though we have a statute in the state of Missouri that limits the proportion of revenue to 30%, it can be as much as 50 or 60% in some of these towns. There have been public statements by mayors to the police, if you want to keep your job, write more tickets.
I had a wheel belt on top of my truck, and he gave me a ticket, and he come jerk it off my truck, so I didn't have it tied down.
Their jobs are dependent on finding folks, right? They're not dependent on finding rapists, right? Prosecuting murderers. So these officers are on the street, and their objective is to write tickets. It is about revenue. And one of the best ways to track that is to look at the recession, and so the property tax base sort of falls out, and cities are realizing that they're going to have to plan for a deficiency of $1 million or $2 million, and they actually budget the increase in fine revenue prospectively. So they're planning on increased policing. They're planning on making up the dollars by policing black bodies. That's actually their objective, and inevitably they succeed.
We get charged for failure to use the crosswalk, man. And there's not that many crosswalks in Jenny.
There ain't even no sidewalks.
Not even on our streets, there's no sidewalks.
They want our money, they gonna pull up on us.
Yeah,
they word against ours.
And when they pull up, they tasers and guns out first before they out. So we don't feel safe at all around here.
You need so many police officers that you start getting to a point where the quality of those police officers, I think, is being compromised, to say the least.
Like, I don't even trust the police. I don't trust the police. Like, sometimes if something happened bad, I don't even call the police. I call my family, which we should be able to call the police. You know what I mean? Tell you the truth, I've been trying to move up out of St. Louis since I was pregnant. I really don't want to be here. It's not safe from the violence and the police perspective neither.
We call on Pine Lawn Judge Dean Proctor to immediately eliminate all outstanding fines in their entirety.
Shut it down! Shut it down! Shut it down! Shut it down!
Yeah, we tired of it. Damn, why ain't past tired of it?
That's a payment schedule. These are my 2 most recent tickets right here.
It becomes a psychological phenomenon. I mean, it's experienced on a day-to-day basis. It's akin to trauma for most of my clients. So in that way, this really has become the replacement for restrictive covenants and for zoning laws. I mean, it's the new way of maintaining a white power structure. I absolutely believe that's true.
You got to see it for yourself. You know, you say racism, they're like, racism? 2014, St. Louis?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Missouri was the last state to free the slaves. Yeah. So
it's still not free. It's just
we ain't free.
It's got, you know, a different look to it.
Got some liberties.
It's called drugs, racial profiling, and jail. Modern day slavery.
And it's what you try to avoid every day. Those things.
Basically.
This is one of the headlines after we went to the commission's meeting on Monday because of how everything was going. I got a little upset. We sat in the meeting for like 4-5 hours, and most of it was a waste of time. We didn't really get to speak until later that evening. I don't approve of this headline, a turbulent start, because I was just letting everybody know we're hurting. We are real people. We have real feelings, and all of these injustices across this nation needs to stop. When we moved here, our neighbors across the street were white. Next door, 3 houses down were white. It was very diverse. Tuesday, when we raised our shades up, for sale, for sale, for sale, for sale, for sale. It's this thing where they say, whenever we move in the neighborhood, oh Lord, the neighborhood is going down. And it's designed like that. It's been like that in St. Louis forever. This is my 20-year-old Joey and his beautiful daughter, Miss Aubrey. And this is my baby, Ernest. He's 17. And they are 2 of 6. A couple days before Michael Brown's murder, he went to the store in Ferguson, bought chips and a soda. What happened?
They said I jaywalked, but they didn't write me a ticket. They helped me in the car for like 15 minutes and handcuffed. And it was like people been breaking their houses over there. And the cops are just being rude for no reason. And like, I don't know, I'm just used to it now.
If they catch us, we don't know what could happen. We could be the next Mike Brown, for real. They wonder why we just take off running. It's not that we doing anything bad. We scared to be around y'all. You can see young black kids, trouble. That's what they think right off bat, trouble. So I just lost hope.
No, you can't lose hope. Why you think mom fights? You can't give up hope.
That's how y'all feel, but I'm to the point.
It's just, it's getting tiring. Every time we walk out the door, we face to cops rolling up on us. Either they could shoot us or put us in handcuffs and charge us for anything if they want to.
And that's why we need you young people to stand up and voice how you feel. You can't give up hope. As long as God gives you breath in your body and you have your daughter, you cannot give up hope.
Sorry, my hope's gone.
Well, how can you get your hope back?
No hope.
Well, how can you get your hope back? How can you get your hope back?
I just live day by day.
It's pointless.
It's serious.
I mean,
that's the difference between our generation and y'all's, I think.
You have to make change. If not, we will be extinct. Okay, we'll be back. Kind of tidy up a little bit for me. Put that back, and Mom be back. If you need me, just call me. Thank you. I'm proud of you.
I try to be more.
See, you're saying that it doesn't matter, but just your voice. We may not see the change in my lifetime. Hopefully, you'll see it in your lifetime. But if you stand your ground and you be positive, you'll definitely see it in Aubrey and EJ's lifetime. That's real talk.
I have lost hope in the possibility of America. But my faith lies in nothing else than these young people and their righteous indignation, that I am inspired by a generation that has been betrayed by every civic institution, by every level of government, every facet of civil society has betrayed them. Their only option is to continue to take to the streets, armed with only anything less than their rage and a deep, abiding love for themselves and the fundamental belief that Black life matters.
We know that the state is waging violence on us. We know that the state is systematically killing our people. And Black Lives Matter was basically a response to all of that. A response that was actually about affirming our people, affirming ourselves, affirming our inherent human dignity, and saying that we love ourselves, we love our people, there is nothing wrong with us, and our radical self and communal love is transformative. And so in that transformation, it's also a very powerful thing. Not only is this an affirmation of who we are, but it's also a demand. As we're transforming, we're also demanding that the society transforms as well. We won't tolerate it, and we'll dismantle it.
Part of the struggle for us in Ferguson is to break a 400-year belief that Black people are not human.
And at the very core of this is humanity. Black lives matter because they are lives, because we are human, because we eat, because we breathe, because he had a dream, because he made rap songs that may have had some curse words in them. Yeah, he was human. And when we neglect to see that, we end up where we are today.
You're disrespectful to history. To history. We're tired of poverty. And all the upper class just sitting back watching, while the low class is down here fighting their damn way out.
The most challenging thing we face in the nation is not Black rage, but it's white anxiety.
We took an oath to defend our country and our countrymen against enemies, foreign and domestic.
And that white anxiety tends to be the governing principle for how we talk to media, about how we run political campaigns.
We're deploying hundreds of additional guardsmen to Ferguson who will be stationed throughout the community to protect homes and businesses.
When white anxiety becomes the guiding force, Black rage then becomes an abrasion. It becomes a glitch in a public discourse that we have no space to deal with it. So it ultimately winds up spilling into the street.
You got the batons ready to beat people that have no weapons. It's a shame and a disgrace.
And so this ideal of the angry Black man, this glyph around the angry Black woman, becomes so problematic because it's obsessed with tampering white anxiety, and that white anxiety becomes the guiding force.
We fire you. We pay your taxes and you fired tonight. National Guard, what are you doing? What are you doing, National Guard?
There's the popular notion of a kind of tame, non-rageful, non-violent civil disobedience movement, particularly coming out of the 1960s. There's a mythology around Martin Luther King, which included rage, which included training, which included tactics, which included breaking laws, breaking police lines, refusing to disperse. So that's part of the struggle of America, but it's just that we've smoothed off the rough edges and vacated it of any of its nuances and presented a popular narrative that is reflected in a statue of Martin Luther King. And that statue of Martin Luther King has become an idol in American public discourse. And that idol in American public discourse is nice, it's safe, it's quiet, it really doesn't make any trouble, it wears suits, it has a PhD, and all of that myth has been broken.
We cannot get justice through the justice system. We fighting, y'all. I'm fighting.
So what we have is large groups of young people, many of them college educated, many of them not, who are queer, who are tattooed, who are profane, and so it doesn't look like what the popular narrative is giving back to us, which is a historically inaccurate narrative.
And when we out there in them streets, the brother with the suit and the tie on ain't the brother that's protecting me. It's the young cat with the tattoos in his face that look like Chief Keef and his shirt off with a bandana wrapped around his face. It's the sister that's supposed to be going to school, but she out behind her mama back at the protests every night. And at this point, I don't care about nobody's opinion about what we doing. I don't care about how it look. It ain't made for TV. This ain't your daddy's civil rights movement. This ain't your daddy's civil rights movement. And they want to know when we gonna go in the house. We ain't never going back in the damn house. So you take that. You take that.
Legitimacy by the mainstream forces has never been an option for the vast majority of black people. So legitimacy is not the ultimate goal, justice is. Because the civil rights movement was never legitimized. Martin Luther King was never legitimized. He's legitimate now that he's dead, but in life he was not legitimized. And so these young people are like Martin Luther King. They are not legitimate in the eyes of the powers. And like Martin Luther King, they will not bow down.